I received a message notification saying my wife had reserved a table at a restaurant for Valentine's Day. It felt completely unexpected. Usually, I'm the one who takes care of these things every year, but by the evening, all I got was a message from her saying she had to work overtime. Not long after, I stumbled upon a post from her junior on WeChat. Only a caring sister knows how to spoil someone. A fancy restaurant, a sweet person. Tonight's cake was sweet, but not as sweet as your lips. The picture showed him and Evelyn in an intimate pose, and around her neck was the necklace I had given her that morning. On the table sat the wine I had gifted her. In the past, I might have furiously confronted Evelyn, but this time I was just exhausted. When Evelyn came home, I was eating a mango. She's allergic to mangoes. Just a touch would cause her skin to break out in hives. Because of that, for many years we hadn't even had mango-flavored ice cream in our house. She looked surprised to see me still awake. Casually, she handed me the gift she had prepared, and in a flat tone said, "Happy Valentine's Day, honey." To be fair, she's a good wife. She doesn't just take, but also puts effort into preparing gifts for me in advance. For example, this expensive Patek Philippe watch I had just received. This year, I also got a message from the restaurant owner on Valentine's Day, saying Evelyn had reserved a table. The owner has known us since college and witnessed our love story, so he's kind of a friend. I had confessed and proposed to Evelyn at his restaurant. Over the phone, he joked about being a single guy while congratulating us, then asked if I wanted to try their new cake that night. I asked, "Does the cake have mango in it?" "If so, let's stick to the usual." "Thanks, but my wife's allergic to mango." Just after I hung up, Evelyn called, "I have to work overtime tonight. I won't be able to spend the evening with you." That night, I couldn't sleep, so I scrolled through my phone. I saw a post from her junior, Peter. Only a caring sister knows how to spoil someone. A fancy restaurant, a sweet person. Tonight's cake was sweet, but not as sweet as your lips. The picture showed him and Evelyn in an intimate pose, his hand loosely wrapped around her waist, his smile gentle and suggestive. On the table was the wine I had given Evelyn, and around her neck was the necklace I'd given her that morning. I instantly recognized the restaurant, the one that holds so much meaning for Evelyn and me. Peter was holding the dessert the owner had recommended. The cake had layers filled with mango puree. When Evelyn sat down to eat with me, she frowned and said, "Why is there mango?" I had seen Peter's post. I knew he was provoking me on purpose, but I was too tired. I didn't want to question Evelyn or argue with her anymore. I stared at my phone screen and suddenly had a strong craving for mango. I ordered a delivery and soon fresh-cut mango was in my hands. It tasted sweet with a hint of tartness, a perfect balance. I've always loved eating it, but since being with Evelyn, I hadn't had any. After I finished, I wiped my hands and said, "I'm going to bed now if there's nothing else." Evelyn grabbed my arm and said, "Oliver, it's Valentine's Day." I looked at her in confusion and asked, "So what?" Her frown deepened as she stood up and moved closer to me. In a teasing voice, she whispered in my ear, "On a night like this, are you really going to bed so early?" Evelyn has always had a cold, distant allure. After graduation, once she put on glasses, her intellectual charm only heightened that sense of distance. But tonight, I could smell a faint scent of smoke on her. I took a step back, avoiding her kiss. "I just ate mango. You'll have an allergic reaction," I said. I ignored Evelyn's astonished expression and walked into the bedroom, locking the door behind me with a click. Lying in bed, my phone rang. It was my supervisor. She asked, "Have you really decided to take the position?" "If you flake on me again because of Evelyn, I swear I'll kill you." "I'm not joking," I chuckled and replied. "I won't back out again. If I do, I'll personally come to you head in hand." The position in the company's advertising department offered a higher salary, but it required constant travel for business. 3 years ago, my supervisor had wanted me to take the role, but I refused because of Evelyn. Evelyn and I have known each other for more than 10 years. We grew up together. I've always known she's a traditional woman who cares about details and boundaries. Being away all the time, maybe only seeing her for 30 days a year and not even knowing when we'd see each other, that kind of instability, she couldn't handle it. I once had her take the MBTI test. She didn't really get why, but she did it and showed me the result. ISTJ. Keywords: reserved, traditional, serious, self-disciplined, orderly. That's exactly who Evelyn is. Just holding her hand took me over half a year. In middle and high school, my close friends thought someone like her was incredibly boring. They didn't understand why I liked her. I smiled and told them, because she saved my life, literally. Back in middle school, an earthquake affected our school. We were in class and everyone rushed outside in a panic. I charged ahead but hit a desk leg hard and fell. She pushed through the crowd, fighting against the current to find me. She made sure I walked in front of her and followed closely behind as we ran out together. Later, I asked her, "What were you thinking? If you died, wouldn't all your dreams and hard work be for nothing?" Evelyn was a bit stunned by my question. She said, "I wasn't thinking that much. At that moment, I just thought that if I couldn't make it, I'd rather die with you." That Evelyn. She probably never imagined that one day she'd leave me behind for someone else. I've never doubted her sincerity, but sincerity is fleeting. My supervisor must have picked up on something between Evelyn and me from my tone. She said, "Who hasn't made mistakes in this world? It's easier to blame past mistakes than to fix them. Oliver, I hope you always have the courage to turn the tables when necessary. Of course, someone as perfect as me never makes mistakes. You, on the other hand, aren't as perfect as I am, so it's understandable. But no matter what, even if you lose the woman, you can't lose the job. You start in 3 days and you've got a business trip to Argentina right away. You can't be half-hearted about this." The next day, I woke up early to go to the office and hand over my current work. Evelyn was sitting in the living room, her lips slightly swollen, a sign of her mango allergy. It was probably from Peter kissing her after eating the mango cake last night. I walked past her, heading for the door, but she grabbed my wrist. She frowned, looking a little defiant, and asked, "Why are you mad? Is it because I didn't spend time with you yesterday? I already told you I was busy and had to work overtime. I even let you know I'd be home late. The company is going public. As a woman, do you have any idea how hard it's been for me to climb my way to management? So many eyes are on me. How could I not set an example? You've always said you'd support me in having my own career. Why are you acting like this now?" "Yeah, this is how it's always been. I love her, so I tolerate her. Even when she was so busy that she didn't know I was in the hospital and I couldn't reach her by phone, I never said a word. Until one day I picked her up from work and her phone rang. While she was doing her eyebrows, she immediately put down her half-finished makeup and sweetly answered someone else's call. That was the first time I heard her mention Peter's name. It was also the first time I realized that she wasn't too busy to take a phone call, and she wasn't the reserved, distant woman who kept boundaries with men. It was just that I wasn't the person she thought was worth showing those feelings to. I pulled my hand away from Evelyn and calmly said, "That's enough, Evelyn. We're done." Before I could finish, her phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the screen and gave me an apologetic look. Peter's boyish voice came through the phone. "Sis, come pick me up. It's so cold today, I don't want to get out of bed. If you don't come get me, you can't dock my pay if I'm late." Evelyn's expression softened almost unconsciously. She said, "You afraid of the cold? The same guy who climbs snowy mountains at night? All right, Peter, get up. You're bringing me breakfast today, remember?" I let out a sarcastic laugh. On the other end, Peter seemed to sense something. "Oh, right. Tell Ning thanks from me. Yesterday, I not only ate at his restaurant, but borrowed one of his people, too. I'll definitely work hard and send him a great gift in the future." Evelyn gave me a guilty glance when she heard Peter's words, then quickly looked away. Her fingers instinctively pressed the volume down button on her phone. You really can't help but laugh when things get to this point. I shook my head and turned to leave. But I heard Evelyn quickly reject Peter and catch up to me. Yesterday, Peter had a client dinner, but he forgot to book a restaurant. So I gave him our reservation. It was all for business, you understand, right? I stared at her in silence. Spending Valentine's Day with a client, did she not find that absurd? Evelyn probably didn't realize it. Whenever she lies or gets nervous, she unconsciously grips her wedding ring. But it didn't take long before Peter called her again, and she left, citing food poisoning or some other excuse. It didn't matter. It wasn't the first time. This winter was unusually cold. Snow blocked the roads and there was no delivery available. I wanted Evelyn to make me some porridge, but I saw her put on her coat and get up, saying, "Peter has no food at home. I'm going to his place to cook something for him." I froze in place. I wasn't sure whether to ask what her relationship with Peter was or why she needed to cook for another man. But Evelyn didn't give me the chance to ask. She hurried out the door without even noticing that I was curled up on the couch feeling unwell. It was so different from when we were in high school. Back then, if I even showed the slightest sign of stress skipping meals, she would scold me coldly. But during an emergency break, she'd somehow pull out a steaming hot bowl of rice cakes like magic. "Eat up! You'll only get worse if I don't take care of you. You're always causing me trouble." When I got to the office, my supervisor dumped a mountain of paperwork on my desk. "Handle all of this within 3 days, or come to me with your head." I worked late into the night, and when I checked my phone, I saw a draft of the divorce papers sent by the lawyer. So, in the middle of the snowstorm, I took a cab straight to Evelyn's office building, but when I reached her floor, the power went out. I frowned and turned on my phone's flashlight. At that moment, I got a message from a colleague with a link. His tone was hesitant. "Isn't this the heavy metal band concert you've always wanted to go to?" Confused, I clicked the link. It took me to the poster's homepage. It was Peter's account. It chronicled all his moments with Evelyn. Turns out, he had known Evelyn since high school, followed her to college, and now worked at her company. His bio read, "Being head over heels for her isn't just your privilege." I clicked on the video and suddenly understood why my colleague had been so hesitant. In the video, concert lights flashed over Peter and Evelyn's faces. They were holding hands and kissing passionately in the crowd. My phone slipped from my hand and crashed to the ground, rage filling my chest. Evelyn and I had been together for most of our lives. We'd practically spent our entire existence together. But despite all that, I still found Evelyn so unfamiliar. It felt like I had never really known her at all. From her office came the sound of soft sobs. Evelyn choked out, "I'm sorry, but we really can't." A male voice responded, I just like you. What did I do wrong?" The boy wrapped his arms around her waist, gently stroking her tear-streaked face. Peter kissed Evelyn's tear-stained cheek, sadness filling his eyes. I watched as his hand slid up from her waist until it rested on the back of her head, and then, in the darkness, they shared a long, lingering kiss. Bang! The power came back on, and the lights flooded the room. "Ah!" They finally noticed me standing at the door. Peter said, "Ning, it's not what it looks like. I'm just too in love with her. It's not Evelyn's fault." Evelyn looked like she was in a daze when she saw me. Her lips were slightly parted, still glistening with moisture. "Oliver, why are you here?" I looked at her calmly, then walked over to Peter with a smile. But in the next second, I slammed my fist into his face. Before he could even fall, I grabbed him by the collar, pulling him closer and glaring at him viciously. "This punch is for your pathetic face. I've met a lot of female pretentious coquettes, but I've never met a male one until now. Makes me sick." He opened his mouth to argue, but in an instant I threw a right hook into his stomach, the force driving through him, making him double over in pain and collapse. Evelyn snapped out of it. Just about to speak, smack. I backhanded her across the face. She clutched her cheek, her eyes filling with tears, looking hurt. I coldly removed my wedding ring, tossing it at her like trash. When it hit her, she finally began to sob, worthless tears streaming down her swollen cheeks. Her voice rose. "Oliver, don't do this. Please, just listen to me." But I cut her off, handing her the printed divorce papers. I said, "Evelyn, we're getting a divorce." Evelyn, disregarding all dignity, chased me all the way downstairs from the office. "Oliver, please listen to me. It's not what you think." Half the building was watching. Embarrassed, I flagged down a cab, ready to leave. Amid the falling snow, Evelyn pressed against the car door, not letting me close it. Her expression was almost pleading as she said, "There's really nothing between us. He's just a kid, he doesn't know any better." I sneered. "He's not grown up yet? So you're just teaching him how to kiss in advance, huh?" My tone was flat. She looked at me, her eyes red, as if staring at a ship that was never coming back. She choked out, "Don't look at me like that, Oliver. Please don't look at me like that. We've been together for over 10 years. I can't live without you, Peter." Peter was just an accident. Her voice grew quieter and quieter, but then someone called out from behind her, "Evelyn, Peter's gone up to the rooftop. Come quick!" She instinctively let go and turned around. I let out a derisive laugh and slammed the car door shut without hesitation. In the rearview mirror, I saw Evelyn take a few steps after me. But she stopped, turning back to run into the building. I closed my eyes. Once the anger subsided, the stabbing pain in my chest finally hit me. The driver glanced at me through the rearview mirror, his voice full of concern. "Hey kid, you all right?" I wiped my face. Turning my head away, I remained silent. Back home, I started packing up my belongings. Not long after, both Evelyn's parents and my parents called me. I thought bitterly, Evelyn sure is busy. She has to calm Peter down from jumping off a building, but she still has time to inform both sets of parents to play peacemakers. Evelyn and I had been together for over 10 years. Our entanglement was deeper and harder to break than most couples. In the end, all my parents said to me was, "Son, we just hope that every decision you make is for your own happiness." I finally finished packing all my things. I opened the door, only to be met with Evelyn's devastated face. Evelyn looked dejected, like a child caught doing something wrong. She trembled as she reached out to hold my hand. "Oliver, don't go. Please don't leave. I can explain everything." I stared at her calmly. Suddenly she broke down. "I'm begging you, hit me, scold me, do whatever you want. Just don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that." She pressed down on my suitcase, trying to keep me from leaving. "Oliver, we promised to grow old together. Our parents are expecting us to go back to Beijing for the new year this year. You can't leave me now. Mom and Dad miss you so much." I sighed and asked, "What do you want, Evelyn?" She nearly collapsed to her knees, hugging my leg, her tears soaking through my clothes. Sobbing uncontrollably, she pleaded, "Please give me another chance." "I promise I'll do better." I didn't respond. My eyes, however, fell on the old college graduation photo that had accidentally fallen out while I was packing. That's when I noticed. In that picture, it wasn't just Evelyn and me. Peter was there too, standing in the distance under the shade of a tree, staring at Evelyn. And Evelyn's gaze wasn't on me. It had passed over me, meeting his. So it had started that early, hadn't it? I had thought those moments belonged only to Evelyn and me. But there had always been a third person in the background. Evelyn trembled slightly, unable to lift her head to meet my gaze like a criminal awaiting a death sentence. To her surprise, I softly said, "All right." She looked up at me in disbelief, her eyes lighting up with hope. "Really, Oliver? Are you really willing to start over with me?" After thinking for a moment, I nodded and unexpectedly said, "Sure, on one condition. Remember how we planned to take a trip to the islands back in high school? All these years, we never made it. I want us to take a 5-day vacation to the islands. How about that?" Evelyn immediately agreed. She threw herself into my arms, murmuring, "It's that simple?" "Yeah, it's that simple." But I knew she wouldn't be able to do it. When I thought about it carefully, Evelyn being attracted to Peter wasn't all that surprising. Evelyn had spent her entire life following her family's rules, living cautiously, from Beijing to the capital, from her education to marriage, even having a childhood sweetheart as her husband. Her future was like a peaceful, well-paved road laid out in advance. But when life is too calm for too long, it's inevitable to crave excitement. Peter was like a cold soda on a scorching summer day. He was rebellious, adventurous. He'd take her on night hikes up snow-covered mountains, stay up all night at concerts, kiss her at sunrise by the sea. No matter how reserved someone is, it's hard not to be swept up in such an intense, passionate pursuit. Evelyn said that after our vacation, she would stick by my side every day and wouldn't let me get tired of her. It was as if she was afraid I might change my mind, so she watched me closely at all times. Usually I'd be the one planning our vacations, but this time was different. Evelyn took charge eagerly, organizing every detail of our trip to the islands. It seemed like she was genuinely excited about finally taking the trip we'd never had. Meanwhile, I scrolled through social media, bored. Peter would post something every day, practically torturing himself as he dissected his feelings for Evelyn. I lowered my eyes and watched coldly. Today he couldn't hold back any longer and posted something completely unfiltered. The person she loves is me. I couldn't help but laugh. I posted something in response. From now on, I'll be living on the islands with my wife. The past is like yesterday, dead and gone. Today is a new beginning. The past is smoke. I just want to hold your hand from now on. Peter finally couldn't contain himself and asked to meet with me. In the cafe, he gritted his teeth and asked, "After everything, you're still going to forgive her? You're really going to stay with her?" I smiled but said nothing. He angrily spat out, "You're really leaving? Really moving to the islands? Why hasn't she said anything to me?" I threw the visa my supervisor had expedited for me onto the table in front of him. Half joking, I said, "Evelyn and I have been together for over 10 years. She begged me to give her another chance. I told her if she could drop everything and leave with me, I'd forgive her. Of course, she gratefully agreed. I smiled, but there was no warmth in my eyes. Peter, furious, said, "That's impossible. I've done so much for her. She told me she loves me." He was seething with anger, but beneath it I could still hear the pain in his voice. I stared at him coldly. Peter really knew how to hit where it hurt. He stole Evelyn away on Valentine's Day, messaged me to reveal their relationship, and even let me catch them kissing, all to make me give up on Evelyn and leave her. But he didn't realize that my place in Evelyn's heart was far deeper than he thought. His schemes had all backfired on him. Peter, enraged, lunged at me. But what threat could a little guy like him pose? I easily blocked him, poured my coffee over his head, then, without giving him time to react, slapped him hard enough to knock him to the ground. I crouched down, grabbed his hair, and forced him to look up. Smiling, I said, "Pathetic. You're really serious about loving Evelyn, huh? Too bad for you. You didn't really think she loves you, did you?" Looking at his face full of frustration and resentment, I had to fight the urge to vomit. I emphasized once more that if Evelyn really left with me, I'd forgive her, and we'd live happily together. But if she didn't go, I'd never forgive her. Peter's expression kept changing. I smiled, knowing he understood. At the airport, Evelyn anxiously checked her phone, her lips tightly pursed. "Oliver, this time is different. Peter was in a car accident, and it's really serious. Can we postpone the trip to the islands?" Peter was certainly willing to go all out. I silently stared at her, my eyes tracing every contour of her face. Suddenly, I said, "I know why you didn't come to that concert with me that night." Evelyn froze, her lips twitching slightly, as if trying to force a smile but failing. She said, "That night, it was Peter's birthday. He invited me." I couldn't turn him down, I laughed. "That was my favorite band since I was a teenager. On my birthday that year, you kept pestering me, asking what my wish was. I told you I hoped to make enough money to see them live. You got mad and asked why my wish didn't involve taking you with me. So I paused and continued. My birthday wish at 18 was to see their concert with you, don't you remember? I was at that concert that night. I just didn't know that my wife was in the crowd kissing someone else. I even sent her a message during the concert reminding her to eat something. It disappeared into the void without a single response. Evelyn began to panic. Her voice rose as if trying to make up for something. There will be other chances, I cut her off. There won't be. That was their farewell concert. There won't be another one. I looked her in the eyes and repeated, there won't be another one. We stood there in silence for a moment. Then I suddenly relaxed, waving her off. Go ahead. He's been in an accident and you're his supervisor. It'd look bad if you didn't go. As for the islands, I smiled, meeting her gaze. It was like I could see the girl who at 18 pouted and insisted I take her to the islands one day. I continued, we'll just go next time. Evelyn looked like she had been granted a reprieve. She rushed out of the airport, braving the snow and rain to catch a cab to Peter's side. I tore up the plane ticket in my hand and threw the pieces in the trash. Then I printed a new ticket. Destination, Argentina. When Evelyn woke up, she found herself lying in a man's arms. The man was gently kissing her face. Something didn't feel right. She widened her eyes. This wasn't Oliver. Yesterday, she had rushed to the hospital only to find that Peter's car accident was just a lie. She had been angry at first. But then he tearfully said, Evelyn, I've loved you for so many years. One last time? Can't you just stay with me one last time? A voice inside her head kept pulling her to leave. Oliver. Oliver must be furious by now. They'd known each other since childhood, growing up together. They had been married for 7 years. Everything had been so perfect. She couldn't leave Oliver, but Peter, his eyes red-rimmed, gently stroked her cheek. How could she turn him away when he looked at her with such devotion? Evelyn suddenly felt a sinking feeling in her heart. It was like a premonition. When you're about to lose something important, there's always an almost instinctive sense of dread, like the feeling of falling in a dream from a tall building in the middle of the night. Without reason, she suddenly thought of Oliver's expression when he waved to her at the airport yesterday. Nostalgic yet resolute. It was as if he was saying goodbye. She nearly jumped out of bed to grab her phone. Peter asked in confusion, Evelyn, what's wrong? But her phone was dead. Her heart pounded as she anxiously watched the black screen. waiting for it to charge as if she could burn a hole into it with her stare. Her panic-stricken expression startled Peter. Finally, the phone powered back on. The moment it lit up, a call came through, and the voice on the other end was shouting. Evelyn froze. It was her mother yelling at her. It took her a moment to process what was happening. Apparently, Oliver had compiled all the evidence of her affair with Peter into a PowerPoint presentation, a file so large it carried a 320 millibyte attachment, and sent it to all their family, friends, and colleagues. The final slide bore Oliver's signature touch, a photoshopped picture of Evelyn and Peter's wedding, paired with a handwritten note that read, "Let's wish this pair of cheaters a lifetime of childless, everlasting happiness." When the call ended, Evelyn opened her messages. The only thing Oliver had left her was a photo of the divorce papers with a short note. "On the desk in the study. Sign it and send it to my office." Evelyn drove like a madwoman, running red lights all the way home. That winter was brutally cold, and the mix of rain and snow had turned the roads slick. She skidded several times, nearly crashing. One driver, furious after she almost hit him, rolled down his window to shout at her despite the storm, but she didn't hear a thing. She was in a daze, her mind consumed by one thought: getting home, finding Oliver. He was soft-hearted. He had always loved her so much. There had to be a chance to fix things. She couldn't wait. Oliver must already be furious, but when she finally burst through the door, the house was empty. Oliver had packed up nearly everything he owned and taken it with him. She remembered teasing him while he was packing for their island trip. "Why are you bringing so much? It's not like we're never coming back." Oliver had only smiled, saying nothing. Now her heart ached with suffocating pain. So that was it. He had planned to leave her all along. No, that couldn't be true. They had been together for most of their lives, practically their whole existence. She couldn't live without Oliver. Oliver couldn't live without her either. If she apologized sincerely, made things right, he would forgive her like he always had. After all, he once told her they were meant to be together since childhood. But when she went to his office, his cold-faced supervisor ordered security to throw her out. When she managed to contact one of his colleagues, they treated her with disdain. Days passed in her desperate attempts to find him until she finally learned the truth. Oliver had accepted a new position. He was now traveling for work, flying from one place to another with no known return date. How ridiculous. His wife had to go through so much trouble just to learn a scrap of information about his whereabouts. That's when Evelyn began to realize Oliver had been leaving her little by little for some time now. Their message thread no longer had playful, emoji-filled chats. Every message she sent him now returned with a red exclamation mark. She checked his social media. All traces of their relationship were gone. The only thing he had reposted was a quote. "When did you decide to break up?" "When you realized that your future would be as long and suffocating as every day is now. I just want to live happily." After wrapping up business, I gave myself some time to explore Argentina. This country, more than 22,000 kilometers from home, was basking in summer. The sunlight draped everything in a golden veil. On the streets of Buenos Aires, tango dancers twirled in the sunset, their movements a blend of European elegance and Latin American passion. Later, at the invitation of a business partner, I traveled to Mendoza. There, under the blazing summer sun, vineyards stretched endlessly, like a sea of green vines. Bathed in that light, it felt as though the cold of winter had finally been banished. As I sipped a glass of Malbec, Evelyn's call came through. Her voice was hoarse when she asked, "Oliver, where are you?" I swirled the wine, thought briefly of where Argentina lay on the map, then replied, "On the other side of the world. What do you want? If you've signed the divorce papers, send them to my office. If not, don't bother calling." Silence. Just as I was about to hang up, she suddenly whispered, "I'm sorry." It was like opening a floodgate. Her sobs poured through the line, crossing oceans to reach me. Her voice carried helplessness and pain, like a child abandoned in a crowded store. "Oliver, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Tell me what to do and I'll do anything." 20 years. We've been together for over 20 years. Can you really just let it all go? How can you be so heartless? I couldn't help but smile. She must have heard it because she froze, her sobbing cutting off abruptly. Panic laced her voice. "Oliver, why are you laughing?" I exhaled and lowered my gaze. "You're always like this, Evelyn. Always so sure that I love you. So sure that if you just show me your pain, act pitiful, I'll feel sorry for you. But Evelyn, have you ever considered that I don't love you anymore? The next time I returned to Beicheng, it was New Year's Eve. That's the trouble with childhood sweethearts. We know each other too well. As my family gathered around the reunion dinner, laughter filling the air, there was a knock at the door. When I opened it, Evelyn stood there. She looked haggard, thinner than before, her hair a tangled mess over a pilled beige sweater. She looked desolate, helpless. That PowerPoint I made had obliterated her and Peter's reputation within their circles. Justice, perhaps. Since then, she had spiraled downward. Those who once supported her saw her true character and quietly withdrew. I hadn't spoken to her since that last phone call. Now, in the warm glow of New Year's fireworks, she stood before me, her face full of despair, though a flicker of hope remained in her eyes. Every year, she said with effort, we've always spent New Year's Eve together. Oliver, I love you. I really can't live without you. Looking at her, I suddenly remembered the younger version of Evelyn. Sneaking out on New Year's Eve, cheeks flushed, just to give me a red string bracelet she had woven herself. I thought seeing her again would hurt. To my surprise, I felt nothing at all. These past months, traveling the world, the landscapes I'd seen had gradually filled my heart. The fireworks boomed outside, marking the end of the year. The long, cold winter was over. A new year was beginning. Evelyn, I said, don't do this. It's New Year's. Seeing you like this makes me feel sick. Her face turned deathly pale. I closed the door. When my parents asked who it was, I just shook my head. No one. Then I dove back into the warmth of the family dinner, fighting for the last piece of beef in the hot pot. The room filled with laughter and joy. It was wonderful. I still had my family. Under my supervisor's so-called brilliant leadership, my career thrived. I quickly grew accustomed to a life of constant travel. Each time I arrived somewhere new, I sent a postcard home. My mom, having picked up some internet slang, now called me her travel frog. This time, I was in Japan. Over the phone, my mom fretted, son, be careful. I've heard Japan has a lot of earthquakes. I took a big bite of mango bread, heading toward the fireworks festival. Japan was fascinating, once modeled after much of our culture, yet now it had developed its own quiet, melancholic romance. Under the summer night sky, fireworks exploded like dazzling stars, burning bright for a fleeting moment, turning night into day. I stared up, forgetting to breathe. Snapping out of it, I smiled into the phone. Earthquakes aren't that common, but just as luck would have it, Japan's meteorological agency issued an unprecedented warning. Nankai Trough earthquake, temporary information, attention to large earthquake. All return flights were booked. By the time the news reached home, I had gone off the grid. My mom was frantic, praying to the gods and lighting incense at midnight for my safety. When Evelyn heard the news, she quietly booked a flight to Japan. Peter was still by her side then. He had lost his job, been blacklisted in the industry, and together they had trapped each other in a toxic relationship. He tried to stop her. Don't be stupid. Even if you go, Oliver won't forgive you. Don't you get it? But Evelyn wouldn't listen. In their struggle, unable to break free, she grabbed a kettle and smashed it over Peter's head. Blood gushed from the wound. He screamed like a madman. He doesn't love you. Don't you get it? He never loved you. I'm the only one who loves you, Evelyn. The only one. But all she left him with was her back. Thankfully, I returned home without major incident, though my flight had been delayed. Just before takeoff, my broken phone oddly received a call from an unknown number. But with the flight attendants urging me to shut it off, I hung up and switched it off. Back home, I reassured my family I was safe and returned to work. That strange call slipped my mind. Until Peter showed up outside my office, he was no longer the proud man he once was. Disheveled, red-eyed, he demanded, "Where's Evelyn? Give me back my Evelyn." Through the glass doors, I frowned at him like he was insane. It turned out Evelyn had gone to Japan before the earthquake. Suddenly, I remembered that strange call, but I kept my expression calm and ordered security to throw him out. I don't care, I told him. She's your girlfriend now, not mine. Bad news came later from Evelyn's parents, who told my parents, who eventually told me. Evelyn had gone to the address from my last social media post, the one where I mentioned watching the fireworks festival. Like carving a mark on a boat to find a lost sword, she had been searching for me, calling my name, using a new SIM card to try and reach me. But all she ever got was a busy signal. She thought I was still angry, deliberately ignoring her calls. She followed the trail to the inn where I had stayed. That's when the building collapsed. When my mother relayed the story, she sighed heavily. And I couldn't help but remember that girl who once shielded me during a middle school earthquake, pulling me out of a collapsing classroom. But this time, Evelyn hadn't made it out unscathed. She was crushed, her legs shattered. Whether she'd ever walk again was uncertain. Over the phone, my mom cautiously asked, "Son, are you going to visit her?" I shook my head. Realizing she couldn't see me, I answered, "No, Evelyn and we have nothing to do with each other anymore." After hanging up, I looked out the window at another unfamiliar country. What beautiful sights would I find here? I was looking forward to it. As for the past, the events of yesterday die with yesterday. The events of today are born anew. I hoped everyone could find the courage to flip the table and start over.